I'm Michelle.
And I'm Katherine.
And we're here at the Healthy Hurried Human podcast,
where we talk about keeping pace in a world that never slows down. Welcome back to the Healthy Hurried Human podcast. I'm Katherine.
I'm Michelle.
And we are going to deliver our 8 KFIs, Spokes on the Wheel, deeper dive, part 2 of this series. Actually, it's probably the third time we've done, we've talked about them, but for the second season, it's part 2. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth, kind of do another approach to them. If you listened to our podcast last week, we were discussing the importance of the wheel, how we anticipate it being used, how it's used in our lives. What we really want people to understand is that these 8 KFIs, the spokes on the wheel, they're not abstract ideas. These are like daily practices, and it daily practices for yourself personally that will make you show up as a better,
more human, more effective,
and you're showing up healthier. And the concept that we have is healthy people make a healthy culture, and we want everyone to thrive in their lives. Mm-hmm. It's really what we want to do. It's one of the things that Michelle and I, when I came on board 2 years ago, so still celebrating this whole month, we're going to celebrate my.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can get behind that as a 7.
Well, because that's
an Enneagram 7.
We're getting close to the anniversary date of me literally coming on board. I feel like LinkedIn kind of fast tracked that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll cut that out. But brain fog, haha. So anyway, this to me is such a great way that Michelle and I connected, is both of us got into HR because we really like people and we want to see people thrive, and we want to see people find their path in life, their joy, their just that what they do, that they come alive, that brings them alive, that is what they were created for, that is their space in the room that needs to have them.
Yeah.
And with Michelle's understanding of mental health and challenges and identifying these 8 areas that after thousands of hours of therapy and counseling and consulting, everything could go down to these 8 specific areas. So today we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into each one more specifically by giving some 2 to 3 minute recaps
of each of the spokes on the wheel. So buckle up, because we're taking a dive. Hold your nose. Let's go.
Okay.
I was thinking of jumping off into the water.
I know. Some of us. All
right. So
bubbles up, everybody.
Bubbles up. That's a diving term, isn't it? Bubbles up.
You just got to know which way is up.
Okay. So we're going to start with the top of the wheel. In most of our visuals of it, the top of the wheel, the top spoke, is being emotionally grounded. And this is where we understand where we are emotionally, and we aren't having reactions to the things around us. We are having response. And we understand the difference. Being emotionally grounded, I think we all know what that's like when we're not emotionally grounded, because when things are coming at us, like standing in like a batting cage and the ball just keeps coming at you, there can be panic. And then when there's panic or there's caught off guard, we react. And oftentimes we don't like our reaction because it's either strong or it's understated or it's maybe at times inappropriate. Reaction isn't planned. It's not thought out. It doesn't have any purpose behind. We haven't been purposeful behind it. Reaction is exactly that. Whereas when we respond, we have been able to take a breath. We've been able to stand back. We're able to look at the whole picture. We're able to not panic. We understand that things are going to come at us. So when we are emotionally grounded, and there's so many things that we're trying to do this at 2 to 3 minutes per spoke on the wheel. There are so many things that play into our emotionally grounded. You can go to, are we doing the basics in life, like getting sleep and nutrition and exercise and sunshine and hydration?
That's daily self-parenting, another KFI.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that. But the emotionally grounded is are we taking time for ourselves? Are we assessing ourselves on a daily basis of how am I doing? Like, for women in this midlife stage, it's assessing, are my hormones doing okay? Do I feel balanced physically on what's happening within my body? Because if that's not happening, I'm going to have a harder time being emotionally grounded.
And for men too, male hormones, they don't get a lot of conversation about that.
I'm just a woman right now.
Can I ask one question though about this? We talked in the last episode and previous episodes about the mirrors that we are for each other. Mm-hmm. Is it fair to say that when you're in a reactive state, you'll see people give you the kind of response, or you'll see people shut down, or people will come at you more aggressively? Because sometimes for myself, as you were talking, I was thinking about this for myself. I'll think, why is that person coming at me with that energy, or why are they responding to what I'm saying? And that's the trigger or the clue for me to say, wait a second, am I being reactive?
I think you are definitely.
Okay,
I'm trying not to keep saying 100. I'm like, that is exactly it.
Just don't say 6, 7. That's all. Just
oh my Lord. But
Sorry.
Yes, I think that is a good clue. If you're paying attention, when you are sensing that other people are mirroring back to you what you aren't expecting or what you are thinking you're not giving off, and they're giving you something back, that's a very good clue that I think I might be the one that's off here. What's going on? The next that I'm just gonna move on to the next spoke, which is relationally thriving. This is the connection and trust. And it drives our emotional energy. It drives our productivity. When we are disconnected relationally, and I mean all of our relationships. So I don't want people to go immediately to partnership. Your spouse, your partner. It's more than just that. That's huge. Relationally thriving is huge when it comes to your partners in life, but it's your business people, your coworkers, your friends, your parents, your nieces, your nephew. Every relation that you have gives you or draws energy from you, and we have to be paying attention to that. Are you writing that down?
Yes.
What did I just say?
Gives you or draws from you. Every relationship you have,
it does, and so. Relationally thriving doesn't just mean like, yes, I have a great marriage and I'm so in love. It's, it can be your teenage angst that you're living with. Like, do you feel like you are thriving? Doesn't mean that teenager's great and they're never angsty, but do you feel like you have a plan? Do you know how you are interacting? Do you feel like you're at a loss in interacting with your tween or your adolescent teen? Do you feel like you're at a loss, or that you're constantly having to pull from something or from a well that's empty when it's interacting with your parents, with your sister? All of these relationships are either filling our tank or they're drawing from our tank. And so when we're thriving, look, we're going to have relationships that are going to pull from our tank that we can't really change because of the nature of the relationship.
Or the person themselves. You can't change another person.
Right. But because you choose to be in relationship with somebody.
Or you have to be.
And it draws from you, you can still be a person who is relationally thriving because you've taken some antidotes from our healthy inner circle or from being emotionally grounded. You know how to put up healthy fences. You can still, just because a relationship is drawing from you, doesn't mean that you aren't relationally thriving.
And this is where we talk about bringing it into awareness, bringing it into the light, seeing it for what it is and saying, oh, I'm having to spend time around this person that will only try to deplete me.
That's right. That's where the appraisal
awareness. That's
becomes
right.
essential. This episode of the Healthy Hurried Human podcast is sponsored by Midlife Thrives. Midlife Thrives is for women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s navigating perimenopause and menopause. If you've felt the energy dips, the mood swings, or the brain fog that make you wonder if you're losing yourself, you're not alone. Midlife Thrives is here to help give you clarity, resources, and a supportive circle of women who get it. No quick fixes, no shame, just some real guidance for real life. Learn more and connect at midlifethrives.com because thriving in midlife isn't optional, it's your new standard. It's important. We're going to keep saying that there is an appraisal that goes along with this wheel, this product that we've created. There is this, we're not just talking about something in theory. There is something that helps you understand where you are in each of these 8 key functional areas. We have an appraisal, and that helps you bring clarity to, okay, which relationships are filling me up, which ones are drawing from me, and then what am I doing about it? So that's relationally thriving. You're going to talk about empowering questions.
I'm going to talk about empowering questions. The next another spoke on the wheel. This one is one of my favorites because I don't use it very well, but when I really began to understand what empowering questions do for you, it is a game changer. So it is asking the questions to get clarity and not solve. You're asking questions to understand the situation more. This really ties into relationally thriving if you're not understanding exactly what's going on with certain relationships or emotionally grounded. You ask questions to get clarity. It's not to solve the problem. And for some people, that is a screech of brakes because we're so driven to what's the solution, how do I fix this, who makes the problem. And these questions, again, really this wheel, it's not a judgmental tool. It truly is to help you. It is your friend. It's
a clarity tool. The whole thing
is. But empowering questions, one of the examples that we like is called the 3 whys. When really it is just asking for more clarity. It's
peeling the onion.
It's also, if you really do learn how to do this well, and you're not using these in a crisis situation, and you're using them from a healthy place, it's more like curiosity over control. You're curious, you're interested, you're mining for information. And after 5 years being a recruiter, I kind of accidentally just recruit everybody. How did you get in this job? I went to Spa Sidel. That's a very well-known spa in Atlanta. They have a couple of different locations. Probably they could be all over the world. I'm sorry about that. And I was getting a massage, and the whole time, while my friends have told me this is not relaxing, I talked to the massage therapist the entire time, learned her whole backstory. Because how did you end up being a masseuse? And where did you start? And what was your first career? And how did you get here? You're
very curious about people.
I am. And it's very enjoyable. So recently I was in a conversation with somebody where it was caustic and hostile, and I was so frustrated, and I realized I'm trying to make a point and they just want to be heard. And the sitting with them and just asking more questions, what ended up happening is they ended up talking through their whole point to the point that they started making my points for me. And I was like, I didn't have to work that hard. If I had just asked more questions initially and let them talk, what they were initially saying right off the bat wasn't really what the heart of the issue was.
And I think it's really important to understand with empowering questions that we truly are, if there is any element behind you asking the question of trying to prove a point or to have the upper hand, you're not doing it right. Empowering questions are truly from a place of curiosity to bring clarity. to a situation. And we're in a place right now, I think, globally, where this is a conversation about dialogue, about dialoguing and what's acceptable dialogue, and how should we be having dialogue. And there's a lot of opinions and judgments on dialogue and how we should have dialogue and what's allowed. And I truly believe, and I think people can understand tone. Like, I believe people are a little more aware or discerning to know when a question is coming from curiosity versus you're trying to get the upper hand on me.
Or leading questions. Like sometimes I'll hear journalists who cannot respond to the answer to the question that they asked because they're just being driven by the next question they want to ask.
Right.
And we've all been there. I've been there a lot because I talk a lot, I think. So I get a lot of opportunity to question my thoughts and how I try to get people to listen to me. And I'm going to leave empowering questions and jump to the next one because it can lead into the next one is volunteer impact and the importance of volunteering. We did a special episode a couple weeks ago about this. I've been talking a lot about this with people. And when using empowering questions to understand like what volunteer impact you're going to do or how you're going to show up and volunteer in your organization, there's a lot of people out there with the changes that are going on in the fall of 2025 with lack of government funding and a lot of our charitable organizations and even the government shutdown where the need is going to arise to show up and to help more or to give more. And we using empowering questions to know where you spend your time and money, as well as volunteer impact connects very strongly to another one of the KFIs, and that's purpose-driven. So a lot of these interact with each other, but just a simple way, volunteer impact can also, we've talked previously about within an organization, when an organization decides to ask their people to come and to volunteer, or if there's a committee that is where you're asking your employees to form a committee and it's going to be volunteer, it is an opportunity for us to get leadership experience, to develop leadership skills, to develop other skills, while also reaching out to your community and having impact. And when you're in that and you're running a committee and maybe the committee has a budget or the committee has a timeline, sometimes it can help expand and understand pressures and see things from a different angle. It's an opportunity for you to get a lot of different perspective on many different areas. I've been through seasons where I had to cut back on volunteering personally, and I've been through seasons where I have a plethora of options.
I think the biggest thing with or an element that's important with volunteer impact is it gets us, we tend to, as human beings, to live in a vacuum or in our own bubbles. And when we get out of, volunteer impact moves us out of our bubble and gives perspective, not just to our life, but to the world, to say, my gosh, not everybody lives like me. Or this is hard. This, something that we take for granted, we realize somebody else has to struggle for or fight for.
So a gratitude.
And so it creates an element, and it's so important for our mental health because yes, it does. It puts us in a place of gratitude. And it puts us in a place of abundance versus scarcity, because oftentimes when we're volunteering, we realize that wherever we're giving, and I don't mean just, your places where there's food or shelter and things like that. I'm talking when you volunteer and you understand there are families that really struggle because they have special needs children, and maybe you don't have children that struggle in that way, and you realize, my gosh, it's not really that hard in my home. Whereas maybe that morning you're like, my home is hard. It does a lot for our mental health when we expand outside of our vacuum that we tend to live in, because we're human and that's human nature. So moving into the next one, I'm not even going to count which one we are on, is the daily self-parenting. And this is where self-discipline meets self-kindness. Tired teams don't just need another training, they need transformation. The Healthy Hurried Human Lab helps organizations build emotionally fit, resilient, and connected teams that perform better without burning out. This interactive training goes beyond theory, combining organizational psychology with personal appraisal that helps every participant understand how their mental, emotional, and relational habits show up at work. When people grow, companies thrive. Book your Healthy Hurried Human Lab for your teams today at foxygenconsulting.com and start creating healthier, more human workplace. And by that, this is always the one that when people first hear it, they like to push back with me and want me to change it or change the name of it. And I don't, because it really is daily self-parenting. And I did that on purpose because for years, especially during the pandemic, we heard a lot of the term self-care. And then when you would see people describe or put pictures up of self-care, I would say that's not self-care, that's self-indulgence. Which there is a time and a place for the extra chocolate cake or the bubble bath with champagne and whatever we're doing that is lovely. We cannot call that self-care, because self-care is that thing that we're all missing, that we can't wait to get rid of when we're 18 or when we're 16. And it's that the voice of our parents saying, hey, did you eat your vegetables? Are you getting enough sleep?
Brush your teeth.
Are you brushing your teeth? Flossing every night? Are you taking a shower? That's where I'm at in my household with my kids. Take a shower. I hope most adults are remembering to take a shower, but it's those things that we.
Sorry, this is me wondering, did I remember to clean out the litter box? That's the story in my life. It's not there. Are they remembering to
right? But our parents would remind you, Catherine, it's your day to clean out the litter box. Like, it's just it's that parenting voice. Hopefully we can make it a lovely, encouraging voice. Huh?
I really hope I did. I'm sorry.
You're still on that. But it's that voice that we need as a parent. You actually just told me that this morning. I could use a little mothering in my life.
Yeah. There is a, Michelle reminded me to bring my paperwork because chronically the last 4 times I've showed up for things, I have not had my paperwork. I haven't had a phone or the charger. My computer dies, all of these little tiny things. And a lot of it, to my credit, is that I'm working out of 3 different offices and I'm scattered. So now I have 3 different charging cables and I have, but she texted me and said, hey, don't forget your papers. And I don't want to mother you, but I appreciate that because, hey, thank you for helping me.
But I had a friend this week say to me, this is interesting. I got to leave this little antidote, who was saying, I want to remember, she was kind of, venting a little bit about wishing her parents were more in tune to where she is as an adult and would just kind of offer to step in. Right.
Oh yeah.
And not that she felt like they owed it to her, but it's I want to remember that when my children are grown and adult and they have young kids and a family, I hope that I'll remember what that was like. And I hope I can intuitively step in and kind of help that burden. And she said, as she continued to talk, I have a sister who has done that and has really stepped in for me and has really played that role. But my sister said, yeah, I wish I had that kind of parent for me too. Mm-hmm. And it just reminded me, I'm like, we all kind of really want and miss and need kind of the supportive parenting thing that we grew up with, especially if it was, there were healthy aspects to it. We want that in our life.
There is, my friend Christy and I were talking about the big Powerball that was last month or something, and what would you do with $1 billion? That whole conversation. Yeah. And they boil down to self-care. I would have someone cook for me. I would have someone drive me. These are things that if I could alleviate them, it's not that I would buy something. it's something I would take off my plate. That's a responsibility that just feels too much.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get to places in our lives where, and I think you were making this distinction. This is not a luxury. This is a basic need. And you and I had this conversation. I sound like I need a lot of parenting, where you said, I just think you need more sleep about something, like, and I'll go on record and say I was getting the same hours of sleep, but they were at a later time. I was going to bed later, and just going to bed earlier, getting the same amount of sleep really is, I did need that. The longer, I was like, oh, I wasn't aware of that. Let's try it differently type of thing. So
Yeah. Stepping in and being this for yourself. It's key and it's important.
Well, and we need to move on from this because we're going to run out of time to talk about the other ones, because we already almost have. But I think we need to make sure that we want to be clear. This is basic level things. These are not luxuries.
That's right.
The basic level of care, of hydration, which you talked about in the last one.
Hydration, nutrition, sleep, sunshine, exercise. Those are the basics.
These are the basics, and we have to make sure we're getting those for ourselves. Okay, we've exhausted that. Now let's go on to talk about the
positive self-growth.
Yeah, positive self-growth. Just we're kind of stuck on time. Do we just want to throw these out there kind of quickly?
Well,
or
I mean, we can hit on them briefly. I think of the Tim McGraw, stay humble, stay kind, but it's staying humble and teachable. Understanding that you can learn something new from every single person you interact with. Also, it's pursuing self-awareness. It's also pursuing knowledge to how can I be better? What can I learn? You ask the question all the time, and I love it. And I'm always like, what did it? But I'm like that with questions. But what have you learned lately? What's something new you've learned?
Yep, that was my hands down interview question, because I wanted to hire lifelong learners, because in my mind, there is so much that we are asking. Upskilling right now is a big thing, of teaching your employees new skills, and a fixed mindset, a stagnant mindset, not having the importance of growth mindset. These are valuable tools in the workplace, and as flexible as you can keep your mind to learn new things and to try new things that's a game changer for successful people, as well as kindness and openness people. The more, even politically, my sister said this, and it's the most brilliant things. If we had more conversations about where we do agree, then we would realize there's not as much divide. It's right. Just where sometimes people start to solve the problem.
That's right.
And if we did that in the job site or on the differences, where do we agree? Where do we align? Let's see what we have that's together, and then let's try to solve the problem from what we actually share. But to do that, you have to be open to hear and understand other people, and it is huge.
But again, this is where the appraisal comes in, because I feel like we've presented this to people before in groups, whereas when we've just presented this, people are like, I'm good. Like they look at it, because when they look at our definition, they're like, yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah, sure,
I'm
100%.
good. The appraisal is where it digs deeper, and it asks very specific questions on these things, to where somebody says, oh, I didn't realize that. Because remember, this is, you remember this, but our listeners may not. Thousands and thousands of different of people who come in for therapy and counseling and consulting within the workforce, condensed to saying that fits here in this spoke. What you're talking about fits here. What you're talking about there fits on that spoke. We can condense any of your story down into one of these spokes, and so. That's where the appraisal comes in. All right, we've got two more. Hang in there with us. Healthy inner circle. I'm going to just say, if you haven't heard our deep dive episode. It's early in season 2 where we really go into healthy inner circle. But healthy inner circle is protecting your energy and your influence. And there's very specific ways to look at that. Writing a book on it right now. This one is deep. This one is probably the most clarifying one. And we were talking about it in the first part of the episode before this about relationships are either filling us or they're drawing from us. And that, what was it? You wrote it down, something I said about it's when they're filling us or drawing from us, but they're all important in every relationship that we're in, whether it's our coworkers, our children, our spouse, our boss, our manager. Every relationship is either filling or drawing from us.
It gives to us or it draws from us.
That's right. So that's healthy inner circle. Again, the appraisal asks specific questions for you to understand. Are the people that are around me, is it a healthy thing? Mm-hmm. And then lastly is purpose driven.
Right. And this is the, we could use it in terms of this is the engine, this is your driver. This is also your value system. It's your anchor. It's how when you really move into understanding purpose driven, which we also did a deeper dive earlier this season. When you really understand that for yourself, it can bring such clarity. It can also be like, hey, I'm exhausting myself because these don't fit into what my engine or my anchor is. And that's such a great way to
the ultimate fuel. Purpose is the ultimate fuel. I love that phrase because I've kind of had a little dance with that this year and getting clarity and niching down and saying, this is really what I love doing. All the other stuff just kind of drains me. Getting down to what is my purpose and coming back to that. And for the last 15 years, I would say, this is what I would say to myself, you understand your purpose and you go after it. But even in that being true, I still pull on, I tend to start picking other apples or pulling on other projects or saying yes to more things to where I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting like, it's draining my fuel. But when I get real clear on my purpose, boy, it just re-energizes.
I want to give a shout out to one of our faithful listeners, Tom out there. Thank you for listening to us. I know this is a longer episode than we thought, but I was about to say something and I could hear Tom's voice in my head because you just went through a medical situation and you were really sick, health crisis, and you could not work and you had to just sit in it and you were watching all these things pile up and you just had to kind of let that go and be in that moment. But you had been seeking clarity and direction, and in the stillness you were able to find clarity and direction. And all I could hear is our listener Tom, who has sent us feedback that says not everybody has the luxury of space and time to think, and sometimes you have to find that, because if you're with this purpose driven with all of these,
if it's not a luxury, you have to make it.
Well, you just get to a place, if you're stuck, if you're looking for clarity, if you need time, sometimes you just need to pause and give yourself quiet clarity, just a space to defrag your brain, to let everything come together. Because these spokes, when you have one of them, it's that grocery cart, that plastic wheel that's broken. It'll thrive and then it won't. It'll thrive and then it won't. And it is important to do these aspects, to run this wheel, to figure out where it is, because we want these are not just some abstract concept. We haven't just pulled these together. These are daily practices that make you a healthy, hurried human, like to be healthy in this hurried world, which is the basis of why we're sitting here and talking into microphones today and hitting them with our chins and trying to give you all a space and a place and an understanding of how you can thrive the best, because that's really what we want for you. That's one of our purposes. And we hope that this was helpful.
And I think you have a challenge for our listeners today.
Oh, well,
do you?
You can take the challenge then today. Yes. Well, the conversation we were having was that we were running out of time with, but is where we were talking ourselves about which one of these do we think we need to go have focus on. And we have a challenge of what if you all take one of these 8 and spend a couple of days, 3 days, 5 days, where all you asked yourself was questions about this one: emotionally, relationally, purpose, volunteer. Spend some time with this. Just bring it up in your thought. Think about it first thing in the morning. Let it ruminate in that RAS system, and start asking yourself these questions. Which one? What are these? Each one of these KFIs say to you.
Where do I need some awareness? That's a good. Where in one of these spokes, where do I need more awareness? And if you'd like some help or assistance, feel free to reach out to us. Email us at info@foxygenconsulting.com. We'll be happy to help you work the wheel. Thanks for joining us. The Healthy Hurried Human podcast is brought to you by Foxygen Consulting and a handful of silent sponsors who believe in this work and quietly keep us going. We see you, we thank you, and we are glad that you're part of this journey.